Could you possibly be the jerk for refusing to walk at your own graduation? A curious Redditor wants to know, but first, am I the jerk for guilting my family about sleeping arrangements for our trip? My family are all staying at my parents' next month, and my 2 siblings are all insisting they can't share rooms with their children. One sibling wants 3 rooms, one for them and one for their 5-year-old, one for their 3-year-old. The other sibling said they need one for them, then one for their 9-month-old as they won't sleep in a cot in the same room as their parents. Now he's transitioned to his own room at home. Therefore, this means that my parents are saying that they'll just sleep on the sofa and give their room to my sister, which I feel is ridiculous as one of the little ones will be in a crib in a room with an unused double bed. I'm staying in a hotel nearby with my child and husband, as our little one doesn't sleep well and we don't want to be the reason everybody's woken up. I told them this is ridiculous, and somebody should share a room with their child, as my poor parents in their 70s shouldn't be sleeping on the sofa. They think I don't understand, but I'm being a jerk by guilting them. I'm not staying there, so I shouldn't have an opinion. Therefore, am I the jerk? Note, this is only for 2 nights. Edit, okay, it's clear to me I'm not being ridiculous by suggesting room shares and I'm not the jerk. I'm going to just enjoy my hotel and sleep soundly and sit back and stay out of it. Yeah, so I kind of agree with OP's edit here. I don't really think OP's wrong for pointing out how ridiculous their behavior is, but also if they're like giving OP so much flack and pushback for even suggesting such a thing, it really doesn't affect OP either way to just stay out of it. Well, actually it just probably means less grief for OP, so just let it be, I suppose. Commander Horatio Novastar commented, "How can't the 5 and 3-year-olds not sleep in the same room to begin with, and why don't the parents sleep with a 9-month-old? Whatever, not the jerk. You're right, it's absolutely ridiculous, and you're just looking out for your parents." OP responded saying, "Apparently because they might disturb each other." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law to get over herself and stop trying to one-up on us? Throwaway account. My 29-year-old male, wife, 27-year-old female, and her sister, 30-year-old female, got pregnant around the same time. The babies are the first of a new generation on their side of the family, so everyone was excited. Sister-in-law was further along, but my wife ended up giving birth on week 32, plus she had some complications that had her hospitalized. My nephew was born 2 weeks later at full term. Apparently, sister-in-law was resenting having her thunder stolen and felt like she and her new baby weren't getting enough attention. She keeps making these comments like she's trying to one-up us. First, she was saying how sorry she was that my wife missed the golden hour because they had to take our son to the NICU. This upset my wife since during her hospitalization, she was often too sick to visit the NICU, and she's already feeling crappy about missing skin to skin on those first few weeks. After we started to bring our son to family gatherings, sister-in-law started comparing the boys, saying how much bigger and more alert her son looks like compared to ours and how he hit more milestones. Last weekend, we had lunch at my in-laws. My wife and I were excited to tell everyone that our son laughed for the first time earlier that day. He's 5.5 months old, 3.5 corrected. Mother-in-law and father-in-law were having a good time watching the video when sister-in-law made another comment about how her son did that a month ago. I don't know why that was the last straw, but I just about had it. I told sister-in-law that she's pathetic for trying to one-up a freaking baby, that her full-term son wasn't special for being more developed than a preemie, that she should get the freak over not giving birth to the first grandbaby. Needless to say, this ruined lunch and my wife's family is ticked. I admit I was harsh with my words and tone, and this was the first time I confronted her family like this. Up until now, we would each handle our own relatives. But these comments upset my wife and ticked me off, so am I the jerk for being so harsh and not staying in my lane? I just have to say, I looked at a lot of replies on this post, and I'm just glad that most people seem to agree with OP rather than saying, "Oh, OP, you went a little too far, maybe you could have said things a little bit nicer." Like, I don't mean to come across as too rude myself, but I agree wholeheartedly with the point OP's trying to make, which is, she's trying to one-up a 5.5-month-old baby. Who feels so attacked by a milestone such as your baby having their first laugh that you have to go, "But my baby did that a month ago. Keep up, slacker." It's like, great, Susan. That's great. Jimming Doll commented, "Not the jerk. How did your wife respond?" OP responded saying, "Happy that I spoke up because she was having a hard time telling her sister it makes her feel like crap, but feels bad that they're ticked." Our next story is, am I the jerk for making food for everyone but my younger sister? I, female 16, have a younger sister, female 11, with a very strong personality. She often speaks without thinking, which causes us to bump heads. She said that I smell, that my breath stinks, that I'm a goody two-shoes and other stuff that really hurts my feelings. Often when called out, she just says, "It just slipped out," or "I didn't mean it like that." She gets upset when asked to do things she doesn't want to do and rolls her eyes, mumbles under her breath, or ignores people to voice her displeasure. I've asked her a question or spoken to her and gotten completely ignored until my mother tells her to respond. Or I'll ask her to do something for me, like put my clothes in with hers, and she'll refuse. Obviously, she doesn't have to do this, but if she's doing it anyway and I've done the same for her, it would be nice, you know? What gets me the most though is that she's the first one to ask for someone to do something for her, buy her something or give her something. But she always behaves like having to do anything for anyone else is the worst inconvenience in the history of ever. Don't get me wrong, I've tried calmly explaining why it's hurtful over text and in person. I've yelled and argued, but she's always got a laundry list of excuses. I said, "I can't win with you." And she said, "So why do you keep trying if you know you aren't going to win?" in this really snarky tone. I've told my mom too, but she just said that you can't force people to change, which is valid, but I don't think it's fair for me to be disrespected because that's just how she is. Today I was making breakfast for myself. There are babies in the house, not my siblings, but we're staying with a family friend until we can find our own place. So our host asked me to make them some too. I did, and my sister said, "I want some, can you make me some?" I told her no, but that she had 2 working legs and was more than welcome to make some herself. My mom said that I'd better make everyone some food while I'm making some for myself, and I said I'm more than happy to make anyone food that wants some, but I'm not making any for my sister because I don't do things for people that disrespect me. She rolled her eyes at me and was very clearly upset that I didn't make her any food, but I ignored her and made everyone else's plate and sat down to eat mine. She kept glaring at me while I was cooking, and now I'm wondering if I was a little too harsh on her and shouldn't have excluded her like that. So, am I the jerk for making everyone food but my younger sister? Edit, because I feel it's important. She doesn't just disrespect me, she rarely listens to my mother and kinda just does whatever she wants to do. It's well known that she's hard-headed. Edit 2, my mom agreed with me not making anything for her. After I told her I wasn't doing things for disrespectful people, she nodded and said, "That's valid." I'd kind of like to know in the comments how many people heard this story and thought to themselves, it feels like some parenting is lacking here. I'm not really going to judge because it does sound like they're in a bit of a tough spot, so realistically they're probably just trying to make it by. That's just assuming based off of OP saying that they're staying with a friend until they even figure out a place to stay. But that said, I don't understand how you have an 11-year-old kid who does these things and acts that way, and you don't try to intervene more. Like, if you get to 11 years old and you're still acting staunchly that way, is it too far gone? Either way, I agree with Sparkle Jump Rope Queen who commented, "Not the jerk. Your sister's 11, and she doesn't have an excuse to act like a brat toward you, especially if you've done things for her in the past. She obviously doesn't understand right from wrong, and I guess that's understandable because she's still a child, but still, I think your parents should have taught her better. While it would have been mature of you to make her breakfast, I can see why you didn't." Hot-crossed Mom Jokes commented, "It's frustrating when parents don't address bad behavior. Your sister needs to learn about respect and consequences. Hopefully, this experience will teach her that actions have reactions, especially with family dynamics." Our next story is, am I the jerk? I changed my mind about my order at Auntie Anne's, but my husband insisted I still get it, and when I didn't, he argued and stormed off. My husband and I went to the mall to pick up his suit from the tailor. As we were walking, we passed by Auntie Anne's and decided to grab a quick snack. As we approached, I mentioned that I wouldn't mind having some hot dog pretzel bites, while he decided on the cinnamon bites. When we reached the cashier to place our order, they informed us that they were out of hot dog pretzel bites and that the next batch would be ready in about 10 minutes. My husband placed his order and asked if I still wanted the hot dog bites. I told him I would decide after we visited the next store and that he could go ahead with his order. Despite that, he insisted on adding the hot dog bites anyway, arguing that it was just a 10-minute wait. He then told the cashier to include them in the order. I reiterated that I wanted to wait and asked the cashier to remove them. Instead of doing so immediately, she looked to my husband for confirmation. He continued to insist I get them, but I looked him in the eye and firmly said, "I do not want them anymore." Then I turned to the cashier and repeated, "I asked you to please remove them from the order." At that point, she finally did. After we paid, my husband told me I had embarrassed him, called me childish, and berated me before storming off for 30 minutes, leaving me standing there. All because I didn't want to pay for something I wasn't sure I wanted anymore. I would assume most of you guys would agree with me when I say that this seems like a pretty obvious not the jerk story. That said, I feel like OP was a little unfair to the cashier in this story, because the problem is OP's husband's the one putting the order in and presumptively paying for it. So if he's standing there going, yes, add them to the order, and then OP standing off to the side saying, no, take them off, I mean, she kind of has to listen to the person who's actually placing the order, right? I feel like OP kind of hinted at this maybe being a misogynistic almost thing, you know, including the detail, well, she looked back to my husband for confirmation. I mean, she didn't look back at the husband, she looked back at the paying ordering customer. Cindy3003 commented, not the jerk, but the cashier looking at your husband was because your husband ordered them and not you? The cashier did nothing wrong, however, you seem a little focused. Your husband acting like a child, getting mad and then storming off is ridiculous. Our next story is, am I the jerk for unintentionally insulting someone's god? Hello everyone. For some background context, this took place in my friends and I's Discord server, where we primarily play games like Among Us and Roblox. So this all took place yesterday, starting with me posting in our trigger warning/vent chat about a YouTube short that I'd seen that was basically, my gay dad kicked me out for being Christian. As a member of the LGBTQ+ and someone religious, this upset me. Not only was the post garnering hate against LGBTQ+ people, but also using it for monetary value to sell their art. So, in our trigger warning/vent chat, I expressed my concerns with a YouTube short, ending with, God, people are disgusting. Not too long after, our friend, who I'll call Friend 1, left the server, giving a vague reason saying that they were going through a lot. It should be noted that this person is a minor. Not too long after the same night, another server member posted, I know the real reason why Friend 1 left, in our general chat. Of course, we PM'd that person, Friend 2, to get more information. Friend 1 believed that I called Christian people disgusting, saying that we were being disrespectful to their religion and insulting their God. Please note, the message sent was word for word, God, people are disgusting. In my opinion, it's pretty obvious what I was trying to say. I explained that I meant it as, God, people are disgusting, or gosh, people are disgusting. Still, they blocked me, and I'm trying to correct the situation through messaging mutual friends. Am I the jerk? Honestly, I think you're gonna have a mixed bag of reactions depending on genuinely what you personally believe in. That said, in this situation, I would kind of defer more to the topic of, is it really worth it having that Discord friendship with this person? Especially if it's a situation where they left the Discord server over something that you feel is intentionally just completely missing the point on anything you tried to say. And I think the most important part of this is OP drew attention to they're a minor. Does that mean OP's not? I'm not accusing OP of anything, I'm not pointing any fingers, I'm just saying maybe them leaving that server and running off to do whatever they want wherever else is not a bad thing. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my mom that I will never trust her with future relationships? I, 26-year-old male, told my mom, 67-year-old female, about a year ago that I could not trust her when it came to any future relationships. My mom and I had been talking about a trip where I'd met a woman. My mom then asked if there were any plans for her to visit so she could meet her. I decided to be upfront and told her how I wasn't sure if I would introduce anyone to her. When she asked why, I told her that due to how she had treated my last partner, I didn't feel like I could trust her with any future partners. She went to her room in tears. I've gone on many dates since then and never mentioned any of them to my mom. She thinks I haven't dated anyone for the last 4 years. In reality, she's simply the only one I don't tell. I do tell my dad and sisters, asking they don't share with mom. Now, for some context on my mom's behavior in that long-term relationship, I dated Amy, fake name, for 6.5 years. My mom was great in the first year, showing interest in Amy and trying to bond with her. After that first year, Amy was kicked out of her family's house, and my dad let her move into my room without charging us anything. Mom and dad live separately. Amy lived in my room for about 8 months until she moved out. The whole time, my mom complained about everything Amy did or did not do. At first, she only complained to me, but then moved on to complaining to Amy herself. The complaining became such an issue that Amy and I decided she was better off getting her own place, where I soon joined after. After moving out, my mom found other things to complain about. She blamed Amy for us moving out and also being the reason we were barely able to afford renting a place. She started making comments about how Amy was gaining weight to our faces. We were both, due to only affording cheap food, calling her a druggie to me when she overheard my sister and Amy talking about weed, and a faker when she got injured in an accident and couldn't work. Eventually, it escalated to the point where, due to my mom's disrespect, I told her to stay away from Amy and I. Here is the worst incident. Amy joined me to help Dad unload some furniture. We were surprised to find my mom also there. At one point, I left Amy with my mom for about 30 seconds to help my dad. When I came back, my mom had an oddly large grin on her face while Amy was silent. After we left, Amy burst into tears. She told me she couldn't tell me what my mom had said to her as she didn't want to ruin the relationship between my mom and I. Half a decade later, I still do not know what was said. Amy wasn't perfect, but my mom had crossed the line multiple times. We tried to talk to my mom about respecting Amy and even went no contact with her due to her behavior. Problem is that my mom is in the early stages of dementia. She retains most of her memory, but many of the situations I've mentioned, she claims didn't happen. This makes holding her accountable a problem. Am I the jerk? I definitely don't think OP's the jerk here. How many of you guys out there agree with me when I say it's not really surprising that OP refuses to trust their mom with their future relationships, but more so and especially with the knowledge that she said something so awful to Amy that OP was not even privy to it, that OP even trusts their mom with a relationship at all? That it's more surprising to me that OP's even maintaining any kind of relationship with their mom. Upperfile462 commented, "Not the jerk, I hope Amy's doing better now. But you really should have cut off your mom way before it got to that point. Sorry, but your mom is toxic and dementia or not, it's not an excuse for being an awful person. Seems like she can't stand not having control over you and loves to play mind games to drive off your partners. Carry on as you are. It's a consequence of her own actions, which were pure evil." Our next story is, would I be the jerk if I sold my friend's concert ticket after she hasn't paid me back? My friend and I bought tickets to see My Chemical Romance in a few months. I set aside money to buy both tickets and sat in the queue for them. It was about $270 for both, which means she owed me $135. We're both college students and I have expenses with grad school coming up, but I can't afford to go to this concert and it's not a problem. I bought those tickets back in November and she promised to pay me back then after her next paycheck. Lo and behold, it's now February and I have yet to receive the money. She keeps making excuses, complaining that she has no money, but at that time, I watched her get a $300 tattoo, and she's getting another one next week. I'm tired of being out of this kind of cash, and tired of the excuses when I know she's just not prioritizing it. She, to me, can't afford this concert. I'm tempted to just sell her ticket. Would that be wrong to do? Honestly, I think if OP wants to cut it loose and sell their ticket right now, I think it's completely fair. It's OP's ticket. It's not really their friend's property regardless of how you want to look at it. That said, if you truly wanted to be fair, you could go to your friend and say, "Listen, I'm giving you a week. If you pay me for it, we can still do it. If not, I'm just selling it. I'm sorry, it's been way too long." If they flip on that, you know it's not a real friendship. The Phil5 commented, "Your friend doesn't have concert tickets. Your friend didn't buy concert tickets. You bought them. They are yours. Do whatever you want with them." Give them one more notice saying something like, "Hi there, X. As I was the one who paid for the MCR tickets, and I'm still out that money, I will be selling them online if you don't pay me back by Y date. I'd love to go to the concert with you. Hope you're able to pay for the tickets. Don't mention the tattoo or any other expenses, that's not relevant. The relevant thing is that you have 2 concert tickets and only need 1, and need someone to pay you for the second one. You would like it to be her, but if it isn't, then someone else will be happy to buy it from you, not the jerk at all. ETA, and hey, if you wind up selling the ticket to someone else, maybe you'll make a new friend at the concert." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my friend the truth why he wasn't invited to my wedding? So I, 25-year-old male, got married a few weeks ago. It was a small wedding, about 50 people, just close friends and family. One of my old college friends, Jake, 26-year-old male, was not invited, and now he's ticked at me. For context, Jake and I were really close in college, but over the years he's become that guy, the one who always makes things about himself. He has this habit of turning any event into a spectacle, whether it's someone's birthday, graduation, or even a funeral. Yes, really. When my wife and I started planning our wedding, she gently brought up that she wasn't comfortable inviting Jake. She had seen firsthand how he had acted at our engagement party. He got wasted, gave an impromptu speech that was mostly about how he introduced us, which he didn't, and ended up flirting with her mom. I agreed. I love the guy, but I didn't want our wedding to turn into the Jake show, so we just didn't invite him. Well, Jake found out through social media and texted me asking why he wasn't on the guest list. I figured I owed him honesty, so I told him, "Man, I love you, but you have a habit of making things about yourself, and I didn't want that stress on my wedding day." He lost it. He said I was being a fake friend, that I should have trusted him to behave, and that I humiliated him by not inviting him when our mutual friends were there. Now some of those friends are saying I was too harsh, while others agree that Jake's a walking disaster at events. So, am I the jerk? I feel like I say this quite often, but sometimes the truth hurts. I'm of the mindset that when you're planning your wedding and you want to make sure that everything goes well, if there's somebody that's going to potentially be a troublemaker, it's not a surprising thing that you just don't invite them. I mean, look at all the families with awkward relationships with relatives who aren't invited because those things would obviously just be so tense. Or relatives who are like Jake and want to make everything about themselves. Like, I've heard stories from entitled siblings who want to actually walk down the aisle as well as OP in like a wedding dress. It's like, obviously you're not going to be at my wedding. Scary Butterscotch 474 commented, "Not the jerk, OP. Did you notice that Jake made your wedding about him? Is your circle talking about your amazing wedding, or are they talking about him? People like this don't have to actually attend your events to make the events about them." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister I won't let her see our dying mother? I was born to a single mother who had my older sister, 32-year-old female, who is actually my half-sister from another man that she left when my sister was about 3 years old. At Christmas dinner, our entire family gathered, so we caught up. I have a really difficult but well-paying job, one that exhausts me. But having a single mother with no stable income of any kind, reliable job, etc. in the past, I've had to skip meals quite often, and I absolutely fear going back to that. So I've made it clear that my goal is to keep the income I have right now at any cost. My sister was quick to comment that since I have a well-paying job and possibility of a raise in the future, then I have to be the one who will entirely financially cover our mother's medical bills and needs towards the end of her life. It didn't sound like a joke. My mom is chronically ill and has always been. She has arthritis, psoriasis, is on immunosuppressants, has had cancer as well as being overweight, and recently having had to go through surgery because her stomach was in a terrible state. I supported her as much as I could, but these ridiculous amounts rack up quickly in cost. I had to borrow money and it was heck to pay off. My sister never ever helped. I answered, "You've never done crap for her before and you still won't do crap for her when she needs you most. I'm tired of you acting like I or she owe you anything when you could never do anything yourself." She got extremely upset, at first telling me I was overreacting and that it was just logic that I'd be the one paying for our mom. But it isn't the first time she's putting our mother's care in my hands and is using us for money while she spends what little she has on restaurants and unnecessities. She then went off rails and started accusing my mother of never doing anything for her either, being a selfish woman and many more things that upset everyone at the table. I outright told her to shut up and to get out of my house and added that considering I will be taking care of our mother, I won't be letting her see her again, even when time comes that she's on her deathbed. She told me to go freak myself, that I was being unreasonable, etc. We haven't spoken since, but my grandma says that she's still ticked at me and regularly talks crap about me. Am I the jerk? Edit. Thank you to everyone for all the insight received. It's clear to me by your communications that I have too much unresolved resentment towards my sister and need to let it go. For info that's been asked, my mother lives with me full-time. We don't have much access to aid as we live in a remote area, but I'll look for what I can find. My mom wasn't neglectful of us. I know not many agree or understand this, but I know my sister and she's always been eccentric when things don't go her way. She disowns us before calling a week later again for money. It's tiring. And as I've said in a comment, my mom is still making up her mind about whether she wants to see my sister or not. Until then, I said I won't welcome her in my house. She can see her if she wants, but until my sister's ready to talk things out with me, I don't want her presence in my home. Again, thank you. OP kind of alluded to this resolution. Overall, I kind of think OP's not the jerk here, but I do think the most important thing is what the mom wants in these moments. As annoying as it is for the sister to have access and see her despite not doing anything, if she's kind of on the way out and she wants to see the sister, OP would be a massive jerk for saying no until she starts paying something she can't see you. That would be pretty rough. No Philosopher 1870 commented, "Everybody sucks here. It is reasonable for the issue of who pays for chronic or end-of-life medical care for a relative to be emotionally charged. You're not solely responsible for paying for your mother's care. In fact, without the enforcement of filial responsibility laws that hold you and all of her children responsible for paying for her care, neither you nor your half-sister are responsible for paying for her care. Getting filial responsibility laws enforced, if they exist, requires either your mother or the healthcare provider to sue you for the fees. There can be cultural issues that put more pressure on you to pay because you earn more, don't have children, or some other reason, but you shouldn't accept the demand that you sacrifice your future to pay for your mother's care, especially while your stepsister does not contribute to her mother's care. Take no more loans to pay for your mother's care. Ask the hospital about charity care or a low-income discount. Look into social services that'll help, like getting Medicaid coverage for your mother's medical needs. In most cases, unless you agree to pay the bill, it's not your responsibility. Debt collectors may try to get you to pay, but paying for your mother's debts is her problem. Has she gotten any sort of disability benefits that could go towards paying for her care? If not, apply for them. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to walk at graduation, attend my graduation party, or go on a graduation trip? I, 18-year-old male, am a high school senior. To say that high school has been rough for me would be an understatement. It's been extremely stressful with my hardest classes being required to graduate. It was so stressful that I decided that a stupid piece of paper with my name on it is not worth all this stress. As a result, I've decided to not acknowledge my graduation in any way, shape, or form. I do not want to walk at graduation. Both my parents and my older sister, 22-year-old female, are frustrated with me, and we've gotten into numerous arguments about it. The way I see it, it's my graduation and I can go or not go as I see fit. Last September, when it was time for seniors to buy their caps and gowns, my mom gave me some money to buy it. When they weren't looking, I snuck the money back into her purse. This week is the time for seniors who are not walking to confirm that they're not, so I plan to do that. Also, I don't want a graduation party. This has somewhat ticked my parents off more than me not walking, since my mom went all out with my older sister's graduation party, and she was really looking forward to doing that again. We've had a few arguments about that, but I eventually said that if they throw me a graduation party, I will not attend and all gifts will be returned. They've tried to compromise by saying that they'll just take me out to a nice dinner, but I've turned that down too, because it would still be celebrating my graduation. My parents plan to gift both me and my older sister a graduation trip to any place we choose. I have forfeited the trip, but they're refusing to take a hint. They've asked me on numerous occasions where I want to go and I keep telling them that I forfeit. You'd think that they would be happy that they don't have to spend a whole bunch of cash on an expensive holiday, but I guess not. As you can imagine, no one is on my side. My older sister's been urging me to reconsider and saying that if I don't make the most out of my graduation, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. My grandparents have called me a brat and said that even if I do change my mind, they won't give me anything for graduation after how I've been acting. My best friend has been pleading with me to reconsider, but I shut that down by saying I won't go to his graduation party if he brings it up again. Am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk. Truly, if they don't want to celebrate it, they don't want to walk, that's their prerogative and that's their freedom to make that choice. Maybe you can make an argument about, and maybe it would be fun to debate in the comments this, but the regret you may have after the fact. But to be honest, I hardly even remember walking. I remember going on stage and the very end when everybody threw their hats. And I especially remember one year where there was a year I didn't want to celebrate my birthday. And I had people close to me who were actually getting very heated and saying, "We're going to celebrate your birthday." Like, I remember how that felt. I just wanted to exist through that day and have it be a normal day. Like, I hated that feeling of feeling like I ruined somebody else's day because I didn't necessarily want to celebrate my birthday. I'm Chatterbox commented, "You're only being a jerk to yourself. You have every right to make this choice, but I do not understand turning down happy, fun things for yourself because you're bitter about high school. This seems based out of bitterness and depression, not sound judgment and reason. Editing to add that I'm not talking about the graduation ceremony or party necessarily. I mean the meal and travel anywhere of your choice. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.